We're celebrating 30 episodes. We look back at some of our highlights.
This was an incredible story.
A tale for all generations.
It was sort of like a white trash Breaking Bad.
What happened next, no one could ever have envisaged.
A final nail in this coffin. I'm never going to bring this up again.
Welcome back to another episode of Too Good to Be True Crime, the podcast where we research funny crimes, hilarious whodunits, and essentially rip it to pieces and make fun of it with my co-commentator, my co-presenter, my co-partner in crime, Austin Turner. He is in Manhattan. Hello, Austin.
Hello. Good morning to me and good afternoon to you.
Yeah, it's good afternoon to me because I'm in Bicester in the rolling hills of Oxfordshire in the UK. Sometimes we tell a story on the podcast that it's just a story that needs to be told, isn't it, Austin? But for the most part, we basically try and find something that vaguely resembles a crime and try and put it to our own judge and jury, don't we?
That's it. We've been doing it now for, I don't know, less than a year. But we have reached a sort of a milestone in our pod today.
We have. Today is episode number 30. You were 30 earlier in this year, weren't you? It was your 30th
That's
birthday.
right.
And now we're celebrating. It's the year of 30, and we're celebrating 30 episodes, aren't we, today? 30 episodes. Who'd have thought when you came to me with this idea that we'd be sitting here at 30 episodes, mate? And we've got many, many more to go. So please like, subscribe. You can find us on Apple. You can find us on Spotify. And I think there's a little iHeartRadio in there somewhere as well, isn't there, Austin?
That's right. So for 30 episodes now, mostly 30 of them have been ridiculous crimes. A few of them haven't been ridiculous crimes per se. They've been maybe, like you said, stories that we just felt needed to be shared that somehow fall into this true crime comedy genre that we're trying to put ourselves in. But we have tons of stories that we have already shared, and we have tons more that we can't wait to share.
Yeah, sometimes we just find a story and we try to find the crime in it just because we find it funny. We're like, we can surely turn this into a crime story, Austin. And for the most part, we do. So we hope if you've listened to all 30 episodes, we hope you've enjoyed them. There's plenty more to come. But Austin, I've not seen you for ages. You've been a busy man, haven't you? Are you all right? How's Manhattan?
I'm doing good. Manhattan's good. We have a park that's right outside of our window. And every year it feels like overnight, everything turns green. And so somehow this week we had that lucky, like I woke up, looked out the window and, oh my God, there's so much green. And I love that. And then of course the next day it rained, and then today it's raining and it's starting to get cold. So I'm honestly concerned for all the plants outside now. But
they like the water though, mate. It's the spring.
Yeah,
spring is in the air. It's been very similar over here. It's been typical April showers. It's been sunshine, and then suddenly it just buckets it down with rain. You know how much I love the weather, mate. There's got to be a crime in there, really. You know what? I think I've said it on a previous pod about the weather, when the weather person tells us what the weather is. Now I know it's not their fault per se if the weather's going to be horrific, but don't tell me the weather with a smile. Don't tell me with a smile. Tell me with apologize that you don't have to apologize for the weather. But I think it would be fair to say you could apologize for having to give me the bad news that I'm going to need an umbrella and I'm going to get soaked through. Would that be fair?
apologize, maybe an acknowledgement that, yeah, you're breaking some really tough news. Although it shouldn't be that tough, honestly, Rich, because it's just what we can expect now, particularly yourself, I think, living out in Oxford.
Yeah, in the UK. Although I did read the other day, because I was doing a bit of geographical research, right? And it says that although England the weather is deemed to be horrendous by everyone else that lives in every other country in the world, it's actually apparently a very habitable climate, and it's a desirable climate to live in. I'm not sure if I agree with that, to be honest, because I don't like being cold, but we don't have real extremes. We don't have real extreme heat. We don't have real extreme cold. It's just grey and miserable a lot of the time, but apparently a desirable habitat to exist in. But anyway, I'll tell you what isn't a desirable. Go on.
Out of all the climates in the United States, I know that New Jersey and New York are not the best climates. It's kind of comparable to England.
Yeah, lot of rain, a lot of grey clouds.
Yeah.
But you know what isn't? I was just going to say what isn't a hospitable climate is. If you listen to this podcast regularly, you'll know that I'm having a battle with the Kia car dealership that lives opposite my building. Right. So
Tell me you have an update.
Oh, I have an update. So if you've not listened to this before, long story short, they park all their cars where we've got designated bays to park. They're making noise all the time. They're putting their cars on the grass verges and ruining all the grass and everything. And when you ask them not to park there, they're just downright rude. Here's the latest bit of rudeness that happened. So another lady that lives in my building, she went out there and she said to them, guys, look, this is where we're supposed to park. You've got they've got 2 huge car parks, but they never use them because they like to keep those free for their customers, even though their customers park in our road when they arrive to try and buy a car. Now, she went in to them and she said, look, please, I'm going to ask you for the final time, stop parking all your cars when you've got massive car parks in our street. And then she said to the woman, how would you feel if I followed you home and parked outside your house? And you know what the woman's response was? It was so condescending. It was, well, I've got a really long driveway, so it wouldn't really bother me. That was her response. Can you believe that? You tell you what, if disrespect was a crime, she'd be arrested right there and then. It's rude, isn't it?
That is so rude. I have a super duper long driveway. You might not even. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I feel like saying, well, if it's that long and your house is that magnificent, you wouldn't be working here, would you? Let's be honest. I should have said that. So, but it's just rude. So anyway, Jem, my other half, Jem, she took loads of pictures out the window and she sent it directly to the head office and said, well, they said, Wayland's Bista clearly ruining the verges and being disrespectful with the residents yet again. And she did get a response. She said, yes, we will pass this on to them. They don't care. They don't care. And I know it's a cliche, is all the stereotypical cliches of like car salesmen and estate agents and just how they think they run the world and they don't give a shit about anyone. They're just playing into that stereotype there. I just find it really rude. But to be honest, it does give us a bit of content for the podcast because you know, if they started to behave themselves, I wouldn't have any updates for you, mate. Talking of updates, so friend of the pod, Michael, has sent something in to me. Shout out to Michael in Swindon. So he saw something and he sent it in and said, this might be good for your podcast. And it was. Now, we did an episode, didn't we? It was about bird crime. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm. I do.
Okay. So he sent me, and it was a BBC News article, and it was a bird that had sat in a tree for so long, it had started to impersonate a police car, the siren of a police car. And police arrived at the scene to this crime, and they thought they hadn't turned their cars off properly. And they couldn't work out why their cars were still sirening when they were out of the cars. He sent it in to me. I'll try and play it now. Let's have a look. Listen to this. There you go. Isn't that impressive? And you know what's even more impressive?
That is impressive.
That was in my town. That was in the town of Bicester in Oxfordshire. Yeah. And I thought that was quite ironic considering that he sent that to me to put on the podcast and I record from Bicester. And that was actually in my town. So kudos to that bird. Having a little bit of fun with the police officers there, mate.
That is awesome. You know, earlier you were talking about doing some of your own, doing some of your own research on the climate. And one of the things I admire about you, Richard, is that you delve into these different topics and you do your own research and you're quite knowledgeable about a lot of different things. And I would like to say that you've maintained a sense of wonder, even into your 30s. I think you're in your 30s, something like that. So, you just maintain. And I just want to bring us back for a moment. I want to bring us back to another bird moment that we've had.
Yeah. Okay, go.
And my favorite part of this is it's your sense of childlike wonder.
A beautiful jungle myna. So the jungle myna is kind of a light grey colour. It's got bright yellow legs and feet, and it's almost got like its haircut. It's like a little quiff at the front, but the eyes look scary. That is a scary bird. It's got a very sharp yellow beak. It's probably the size, I don't know, it's it's the size of a pigeon, but it's more streamlined. So it's probably got a bit more pace than a pigeon. I think so. Yeah, and I think the way it looks, the way I'm seeing this picture is that if you look at that bird the wrong way, that bird's coming for you. It's going to peck your eyes out.
It's kind of a dainty bird, but it clearly has the capability for violence and theft.
Yeah, it looks aggressive, doesn't it?
Here is a follow-up on the same bird. Yeah, this is the same jungle myna. Okay. It's the same apartment as that last bird that we just saw.
Okay. So I'm seeing another video of a bird come in. Oh, this is unbelievable. So what I'm seeing now is the same bird flying into, I'm presuming it's the same hotel room, and as it flies in, it drops the cash that it's stolen, and it's dropping the cash in a massive drawer full of cash. Now this drawer is like a drawer that you pull out from the bottom of the bed, and the whole drawer from bottom to top is just full of cash.
So that was obviously our bird crime episode.
That was a a great episode. I enjoyed that. So, seeing as we've just had a little soundbite from a previous episode, I guess we should say that this is our 30th episode. So, what we're going to do is actually look back at some of our highlights from the last sort of 29 episodes and actually just play you some sound clips, and then encourage you to go back and listen to other episodes of this pod. So you can enjoy it as we did when we were recording. What do you think about that, Austin? Should we do that?
Too good to be true crime. It cannot be true. Too fucking good to be true crime.
It's true.
Too good to be true.
That's good.
That's too fucking good to be true crime.
That's all good shit.
Let's go. We've already kicked it off. We had a throwback to the bird crime episode. Now we won't be giving you 30 clips. We've got, somewhere around 10, maybe a little bit less than that, but
yeah.
But that starts us off.
It's nice. I enjoyed that episode. I'll tell you what,
yeah.
one of my favorites, it involves animals again. It was episode 22, and it was the Casper the camel episode, where a couple decided to go on a little road trip, and they got caught at a kind of a rest stop. They lost their dog, and then kind of chaos ensued, didn't it? Because Casper the camel was in like a pen, and then it was like man versus beast in the enclosure. And what happened next, no one could ever have envisaged. Should we listen to a little clip of episode 22, Casper the camel?
For sure. Let's hear from Casper the camel.
Now you've got Edmund, who is 73 years old, and Gloria, who's 68, in this camel enclosure trying to rescue their dog. And at this point, Rupert sees them, but you know what it's like when you kind of like waving your arms and shouting at a dog. They don't know there's a problem. It's a big game to them, so he's just getting excited, running away from them, etc., etc. And the camel's getting more and more pissed off. He's spitting and So what happens is Rupert, the dog, he exits the enclosure, and he's absolutely happy as Larry. Okay, so now you're left in the enclosure. You've got Gloria and you've got Ed. Okay, and Ed's trying to save his missus. He's trying to we need to get out of this, but the camel comes between Ed and Gloria. It's now woman versus beast. All right, so Ed's like, there's nothing I can do here. So Ed exits the enclosure, climbs back through the barbed wire, scratches all his back, shirts off his back at this point. Right, this is the point where Casper strikes. So Casper strikes Gloria and he knocks her to the floor. And without a second thought, Casper the camel sits on top of Gloria. Okay, so Gloria she's pinned to the ground. Casper is just sitting on her, and she's like struggling for breath. There's absolute pandemonium. Now, what Gloria does is what anyone else would do in this unique situation, my friend. She bites down hard on Casper the camel's testicles, which were resting neatly upon her face.
I mean,
you'd do the same thing, wouldn't you, Austin? If you had a pair of bollocks on your face, you'd bite them to get whoever owned those pair of bollocks off of your face. I mean, that was hilarious. I mean, serves them right for letting their dog run into the camel enclosure. But that was, yeah, it was when I think I remember telling you that story, and I thought you'll never get, even if I've asked you, you would have never have guessed what was coming next. But good old Casper the camel. We should try and get an update from Casper and see how he's doing, because
I believe the dog happened to be deaf as well. And this took place at a rest stop is somewhere in like Tennessee or something like that.
Yeah.
So this was an incredible story. This is an American tale.
Yeah, American tale, a tale for all generations, and a word of warning for all generations as well. If you have a deaf dog, don't let it escape into a camel enclosure, because you could end up with a pair of bollocks on your face. Yes. Another episode that really, really sticks in my mind that I really enjoyed, and it's a story from the UK, and it was The Lottery Liar. Do you remember this one?
Yeah.
So it was a story.
Was it Howard, right?
It's Howard and Kathy Wormsley, where Howard basically managed to hoodwink Kathy into believing that he'd won, I think it was like 8.9 million on the lottery, and it went on for ages, and everyone in the town believed him, and he was like buying cars, and he was like all on credit, because the era that it was in, people took people at their word. And then he was like writing out like fake checks and stuff that would eventually all bounce, and then it all caught up with him. And poor Kathy, I mean, you feel sorry for her, but I think, as we were recording, we're thinking, God, how dumb do you have to be to believe? I mean, love is blind, as they say, mate. Love is blind, isn't there?
It was sort of like a white trash Breaking Bad or something like that. I remember thinking that. All right, here's a clip from The Lottery Liar.
Let's listen.
A massive loss, and they had to use the money, to pay off debts that they'd accrued to other people. So the architect that was going to create the swimming pool dance floor for them, he informed the swimming pool company that Howard wasn't actually a lottery winner. In fact, what they actually said, the architect phoned up the swimming pool company and said, just so you know, he ain't no lottery winner, he's a wanker, end quote. That's what they actually said. A quote from Kathy was that it was a nice dream while it lasted. And I go, well, Kathy, it wasn't really anything. You can't really say it was a nice dream while it lasted, because it never existed. And there's a documentary which we'll put a link to as well at the end of this. There's the kind of shots of them then visiting the places that they were going to buy, and like looking over the garden fence going, oh yeah, this is Howard and Kathy together after she's taken it back, and she's like going, oh yeah, we were gonna, well, that was gonna be moved into, that'd have been nice, because that was gonna be the swimming pool area, that was gonna be the guest house. I'm like, it wasn't ever going to be that, Kathy. Like, it never existed.
It was a nice lie while you believed it.
It was that is brilliant. It was a nice lie while you believed it.
There we go. That was the story
from the
The Lottery Liar. Well, I think that was what episode? Oh, that was a while ago. That one, wasn't it? Episode 20. I think that was, Austin. Back probably back before Christmas last year. But a great episode. We encourage you to go back and have a listen to that. And that architect, he was really funny. And I think we said it before. There's a documentary called The Lottery Liar documentary. You can find it on YouTube. I encourage everyone to go and watch that, because it's an unbelievable story. But listen to our story. Listen to our version of it on the podcast first.
Yeah, mate, it was so cool going back and finding these clips of all of our episodes, and not only remembering the stories, but remembering what was going on when we were doing these episodes. Yeah. Particularly because, for anybody that doesn't know, Rich and I are sometimes together in the same room, and most of the time we're not together in the same room. But then sometimes when we're together in the same room, it's a room on a cruise ship in Japan, or it's a room somewhere in the Caribbean. Yeah. And so, I don't want to end the pod episode with this clip, because there's a lot more important parts of this pod to me than what I'm about to share with you. Okay. But I do have a clip for this episode that I feel is really important to share. And this takes place in Japan. This is when we were in Japan. Yeah. And I just want to put a final nail in this coffin. I'm never going to bring this up again. I'm never going to tease Richard about this again because he's been such a good fucking sport about this.
Yeah.
So we're doing a clip show, and I've just got to throw in one of my all-time favorite clips of Rich. So here comes Richard on stage with our band Unity, and this was in Japan. And if you want to hear more about this incident or a few more of our own cruise ship hijinks or a big epic story about a cruise ship that ran out of power, you can tune into our episode number 16. Yeah. This is an episode where Richard and I have two buddies as well. So there's four of us sharing this crazy story
with Garrett and Brian, because we're in a pop group, aren't we? And we sing on cruise ships, and we sing gigs and corporate gigs and stuff. So that was why we're consistently on cruise ships singing.
Yeah. And so of course Garrett Deegan and Brian McCann, you may hear their voices or their reactions in this clip. I'm not sure if they're in this clip, but they are definitely in this episode, providing some hilarious commentary. All right, here's a clip from on stage in Japan.
Minasan! You know. Minasan konbanwa!
You know what I'm about to say.
And what they did know, they knew that I'd forgotten it.
That's absolutely
what they did know. The pause was a lot longer than I thought it was. Because often on stage, isn't it, if there's a problem, you think that feels like it was an age, but when you listen back to it or watch it back, you think it's not as long as that.
This was not the case.
Absolutely was as long as that and more.
Oh mate, I remember it well. It was like it's that panic moment. So that was a clip from our cruise ship episode where clearly you heard me trying to speak Japanese, which I did in other shows, and I'd learnt the sentence, and it was fine. And then on the final show, my mind went blank, and my brain just became spaghetti, and I just completely forgot what I was going to say. And as you heard in that clip, the audience knew that I'd forgotten as well. And then suddenly from somewhere, it just popped back into my brain and I remembered what I was supposed to say. So yeah, it was, anyone that's ever been on stage, I'm sure you've all had a moment where you think, I don't know what's coming next. I really don't know. I don't mind. It's good. It's good. And it's fun to remember those moments, isn't it?
Yeah, you're a good sport. Thank you, Rich. Yeah. And
no worries.
Yeah, we've had some great times. We've recorded pod episodes around the world, and we've only had 30 episodes. So that is so exciting for us. We've sort of also used it as an excuse to explore a certain kind of, maybe what do crime or what do laws look like in this country that we're about to visit.
Yeah.
So one of the clips that you sent me for today is another one from Japan, and it's all about this craziest game show ever episode that we have. Do you remember what that episode was about?
Yes, it was about the guy who entered a game show, and basically he was put in a room, and he had to get himself released from this room. He just had to enter competition after competition after competition in magazines, not online. He had to fill them in by hand, send them off, and win sort of paraphernalia to essentially 1, keep him alive, 2, keep him clothed, 3, keep him warm, and 4, hopefully eventually get to a point where he's got enough sort of monetary value where he can escape from this room. And it turned out that he was in there for like 9 months in the end or something, wasn't it? Or almost like a whole year. Yeah, and so he was just him alone, and he didn't even know at the time that it was being broadcast. He thought it was being recorded, and then it was going to be shown later in the schedule. But actually, it was live. It was like an early days live link, like an early type of Big Brother, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah. All right, let's get a clip from that episode.
His first priority was to get clothed, but he's spaghetti.
He's constantly throwing it against a wall, hoping it's going to smash open.
Yeah.
Eat it cold off the floor.
And he has to strategize this thing, right? And so his first priority was to get clothed, but he needs to get food as well so he can freaking survive.
Yeah.
But his way out of this whole thing is to win a monetary value.
Yeah.
So it really is a bit of a game of strategy for him. What should I do? How do I make it through this,
Yeah. I need to not die, but I also need to earn money.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my life, mate.
Yeah. After 38,000 entries, he made it halfway. He made it halfway to his goal.
How long's this been?
38,000. I was gonna let you guess.
So he's halfway through, and
He's halfway to his money goal.
okay. I'm gonna guess a while. I'm gonna guess a few months, 3 months,
6.
6 months.
After 6 months, he makes it halfway to his goal.
Is there any windows in this room?
Yeah.
Oh, right, so he's getting natural light.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's right. So, oh god, so he's not had any interaction with any humans other than maybe someone delivering something to him.
Yeah. That's right.
And he's made half of his money, and it's taken him 6 months.
He's been naked.
He's been naked for 6 months.
Practically malnourished, and yeah.
Oh god, and this is just purely for the purposes of an entertainment on a TV show.
He's a comedian, man. This is his big break.
Okay, do you think he's making jokes all the time? He's like constantly looking at his penis, making jokes about it and stuff.
I mean, I've seen some clips of the show, but of course I can't understand what he's saying.
Yeah, fair enough.
I will say that he is very, very animated. He's very over the top.
Right.
You know, it's really wild to watch. So by the 6 month point, he's won a bicycle.
Oh, so there it is. That was episode 15.
Yeah.
The craziest
Japanese-
game show ever.
Yeah, Japanese reality show. And when we were in Japan, we were kind of exploring like a lot of the crazy stuff they do on television out there, and it's absolutely wild, isn't it? It's bonkers some of the
Yeah.
stuff they put themselves through for the purposes of comedy. But yeah, that I'd never heard that story until you brought it to the pod. And I was fascinated by that dude. But you know what? Even more so, and we do cover it in that episode. Just trying to discover what happened to him, like post that show, you know, because obviously you're isolated for that amount of time, and you're naked for that amount of time, and you're not eating much, and all you're doing is like writing correspondence, trying to win stuff. What that does to someone's mind, but it all comes out in the end, and like I said, we cover it in the pod, so definitely go back and listen to that one, episode 15, Japanese reality TV show. I'm going to take you back even further, Austin. Episode 13.
Before we go any forward, I have a clip from an unaired episode when you and I recreated that game show where we were trapped naked in a cabin.
Back at the ranch, episode 13. This was the ATM thieves. So this was I believe it was the Duffy brothers from Ireland, and they decided they were going to steal a digger and rob the ATMs straight out of the wall, from like that were plumbed into the wall next to a hotel, and they were using they weren't clever about it, were they? They were using their own phones. They were using the street that they went drinking in. They were using like heavy haulage vehicles from just up the road where one of them worked, and it really didn't pan out well for them, did it? I mean, it's like if stupidity was a crime, these guys would definitely be arrested. Should we have a listen to a clip?
Here's a clip right here. This is episode 13.
They were a crime family that would perform these robberies and these thefts all together. A phone found on Kieran Duffy matched the number of a phone used to contact the owner of the digger, which was for sale. He wanted some test drives 2 days before the botched theft. So initially, we thought that the diggers had been stolen. But what Kieran Duffy had actually done, on his own phone, had phoned up the owner of the digger on the site of the old fire station. And it was for sale. And he said to him, "Can I test drive your digger a couple of days before the robbery?" So you've got hiding out in the toilets of the place that you've just robbed. Plus, you're hiring a digger, contacting the person that owns the digger on your own phone for 800 meters up the road for the digger that was then used in the robbery. It's not going to take a rocket scientist to ascertain who these people are, right? So, the Gardaí, the cops, had put the yard in Tullipole under surveillance, and 2 bags containing 298,900 euros were recovered, along with a money counting machine.
ATM thieves. How did you
ATM
find that
thieves.
story?
So that was sent in by Carl, friend of the pod over in Dublin. He's not Irish, but he is married to the lovely Kira, who is Irish. And yeah, quite often he'll send us a little story, down the Telegraph poll for us to use on the pod. But yeah, that was from Carl over in Dublin. So shout out to Carl. Thanks for that story, mate. And yeah, please feel free to send in any more should they come your way.
Now that we're in our 30s, the pod, we really want to reach out to all of our listeners and get you to send us your too good to be true crimes. Please do not confess anything that's illegal. We want your hilarious confessions. We want to know about the time that you were supposed to babysit your mom's dog while your mom was on vacation, and then you lost the dog and you didn't know what you were going to do, and then you found the dog right before your mom came. Your near escapes, your questionable calls. We want to hear your confessions. You are too good to be true crimes. You can send them into us via our Spotify. You'll be able to send us a message. You can also find us on Instagram, or you can send it to our too good to be true crime email, which will be shown on the screen right here or attached in our description.
Yes, that's what we want. We want you to confess. We want to give you a platform. We want to give you an avenue for something that's been weighing you down for your whole life. You need to be able to get this off your chest. You need to be able to tell the nation, whether you're in the UK, whether in the USA, whether you're in any other country in the world, this is your platform. This is your time to shine. This is your time to take responsibility and say that, yes, you did smash the tiles in the bathroom at your auntie's house and then you got them replaced and they're a different color now and she never found out. This is your time to tell us those kind of things. As Austin said, you can send them in, or what you can do, you can get in touch and we can actually give you a call and you can give us a voice note. It can be anonymous if you want it to be, and we can play your confession live on air. And then perhaps me and Austin, what we'll do, we'll decide whether we think there should be a sentence that should be served, right?
Yeah, through the act of, as the British would say, taking the piss, we will resolve you of your sin, of your crime, of your too good to be true crime. We'll take the weight of this and we'll turn it into something that we think is hilarious, and hopefully you'll feel a little bit better about it after that.
Yes, because from every negative there can become a positive, and what that positive can be is us literally just ripping the shit out of you and laughing at you on the podcast. And there you go. That's you taking responsibility, and that's us having a little bit of fun, isn't it, Austin? Have you got any more clips from any previous episodes, Austin, before we wrap this up?
And this episode is kind of special to me, Rich, because, I grew up with a twin brother who excelled at athletics. Every single sport that he tried. Shout out to my brother Garen. That's Garen, out in California. He excelled at every sport that he tried. And, it was hard for me. It was hard for me. So that's why I just became a performer. I went the other direction. But somehow through our pod, and thanks to our guest Benji, I was able to get a little bit closer to athletics. Not in the sense that I had any idea what the rules of the game were or got any better at playing athletics, but I really had an appreciation for the way that Benji described the spirit of cricket out in Australia.
Yeah.
So let's take a listen to a little clip here of one of my favorite moments when Benji was telling the story about a cricket ball scandal.
Yeah.
Australians who were disappointed and angry. He specifically referred to the effect that the incident had on his parents, causing him to break down. He implored others faced with questionable decisions to consider their parents. He added, "I will regret this for the rest of my life. I'm absolutely gutted. I hope in time I can earn back respect and forgiveness." So he's brought his parents into it. Is he just trying to, tug on the heartstrings, or is he, Ben? You know this guy better than the rest of us. Is he a genuine guy? I mean, mate, I've seen this press conference. The guy's a wreck.
Yeah, he's like, but the poor guy as well. Even this year at the Ashes, I was at Edgbaston and every Test match, and cries from 15, 20,000 England fans. We've seen you cry on the telly.
Oh no!
The guy takes it in good spirit. I guess he has to.
Oh, so that was Benji telling us about the culture and the spirit of sport in Australia, and of course we were referring to the the person who was involved in this ball tampering scandal. And one of the things that we like to do on our pod is take a look at people's apologies, because a lot of these crimes that we look at, they involve people who have issued public apologies, and that is certainly the cricket player crying on the news as he apologizes and encourages everyone to think about their parents next time. That was one of my favorite apologies.
It was particularly heartfelt, that one, wasn't it? It was the Australian cricketer Steve Smith who'd got caught tampering with not his balls, but the balls on the cricket field, and Benji, who hosts Benji's podcast. You can listen to that as well. Benji's podcast. Shout out to Ben, who hosts that. He came on as a special guest because he's a cricket expert, and he was telling us all about, like you said, Austin, the spirit of cricket. That was wow. That was a long time ago. That was back episode 7, wasn't it, Austin?
That's it. Yeah. Did you? Hey, did you look that up while the clip was going, or did you remember that?
I just know it, mate. I'm just a
it.
wealth of podcast knowledge from Too Good
I got
to Be
my
True
phone.
Crime. Yeah.
I got my phone sitting here, so I'm cheating to remember what episode numbers some of these are. I've got a clip here, Rich, from one of our episodes, which is a story from a fellow cruise ship worker that we had. And I never knew this person, but you have told me about this person from the first time that we cruised to St. Martin. And I just always thought that this story is absolutely hilarious. And Rich, I'm a fan of your storytelling style. So I'm going to play a clip here from The Tale of Sweet Michael.
Caught Norman on a really good day because he's like, yeah, man, no worries. Yeah, I'll get it for you now. I'll go to the ATM.
That is fucking nuts.
Yeah, so he built up his business because, technically, he wasn't building his business up from money that had been earned, under the table. He built his business up by borrowing that money from Norman, but obviously how he was surviving. If you visit here, you, shall we say, and then was then held by Sweet Michael on the beach. Sweet Michael said to Norman, here's your $600 back that you gave me. And also now, whenever you visit here, you will never have to pay for a drink. You will never have to pay for a sun lounger. You'll never have to pay for an umbrella. I will look after you forever. Sweet Michael was probably unethical in how he was making his money originally.
Right.
But he borrowed like a business loan from Norman. And he actually did what he said he was going to do. He bought a few deck chairs and gradually, over a year, built up his whole business, which he wouldn't have been able to do had he not borrowed that money.
So that's from our episode about Sweet Michael. And I just think it's so tasty. How do you secure yourself a forever beach chair and a sun lounger and an umbrella on an island somewhere? How could you do that? Well, Sweet Michael has afforded that for Norman. And if you want to find out how that happened and some more really great travel advice, you can tune into that episode.
A lot of good travel advice. Episode 24, that one. That's a particular favourite of mine. And Sweet Michael holds a dear place in my heart, Austin, and forever will. But because often if you go out on the sun lounger, if you're late out to the beach or if you're late out to the pool, you're not getting a sun lounger. And he tells you in that story exactly how you can secure those. Yeah, it was amazing. It's an amazing story, that one. And as are the majority of our stories, mate, on Too Good to Be True Crime. That was a little insight to our previous episodes, a few little clips there for you to enjoy, and hopefully something there tickles your fancy a little bit, and you might go back and listen to the other episodes on Too Good to Be True, because this is our 30th episode, and we thought we'd take a little visit down memory lane and remember the good times, mate. Remember how it all began, and reference some of our favorite episodes in our little clips. So we hope you enjoyed that. We'll be back next time, and we'll be episode 31, mate. We're pushing 40, mate. I wish I was pushing 40 and not the wrong side of it. I know you were very kind to me saying we're in our 30s, but unfortunately I really wish that was the case, mate, but it isn't, unfortunately. But hey, with age comes experience, but unfortunately probably not in my case. Austin, it was great traveling down memory lane with you today and revisiting those episodes from Too Good to Be True Crime. We encourage all our listeners to go back and listen to our previous episodes. You can, of course, find us on Apple. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us and see us on YouTube. And as I said before, you can find us on the cheeky little iHeartRadio app as well. We'll be back with another episode of Too Good to Be True Crime next week, the podcast where we find ridiculous crimes. And as Austin said, please send in your confessions and we'll put you to judge and jury. And we'll see you next time on Too Good to Be True Crime. Adios, Austin.
See you soon, Rich.